Well, welcome to another edition of Conversations with Copeland, where I spend about 20 minutes talking to a person who I think is interesting and has some important information or entertainment value to impart upon you. Today it's informational, and I'm going to call it kind of therapy. So it's what we're going to call today's Conversations with Copeland. It's therapy to help you, if you're progressive, to kind of hopefully help you calm down, maybe a little bit. I don't know. Joining me is Gary Lux, who is an environmental lawyer, activist, and founder of the Resistance Action East Bay Indivisible group, and author of the new book, You Are Not Alone, Your Roadmap to Effective Political Action. And it's a quick read, as you can tell by how thin the volume is. It is a quick read, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. So, Gary, welcome you're my second guest, Eric Swalwell, and now you. So I appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure.
All right, let's start with the book. Tell me what the impetus was. Tell me why this book and why this book at this particular time.
I probably would not have spent the time and effort writing this book if there was something else out there. And, as you mentioned, I lead a almost 900 person Indivisible group in the Bay Area. And our volunteers are focused on doing different activities to raise money or get the word out and flip districts from red to blue. And the vast majority of people I talk to in our retail efforts at farmers markets, activating them with the opportunity to give money or give time, the vast majority of people are so grateful that we give them opportunities like that. And if you ask 100 people leaving the No Kings March or protest what they would do after the protest, I would venture to guess 99% would say another protest, or maybe give money to the Democratic National Committee. And so people are hungry, and a lot of people feel lost and feel like they don't really know how they can make a difference. And so 8 or 9 years of running this organization, we've road tested so many strategies that are not rocket science, but they're underutilized and they're doable. And so I can talk about those. But the reason why I wrote the book was the hunger out there, and the fact that, and like if you listen to the radio or you hear Democratic pundits say, you got to do something, it's a call to action, and they leave it flat. And then people. Well,
they don't leave it flat. They'll send me a text asking for $32.
Yeah.
If I get one more of these texts from some rando Democratic congressional candidate in the middle of butt crack Montana who's running against the incumbent Republican, all I need is $32. I'm $32 away from victory. I mean, stop.
Well, and here's what I do is in the book, it's an opportunity to confidently unsubscribe from the vast majority of texts and emails, because it's curated to what you can do if you're in the Bay Area, in the blue, or in California. It's curated to what you can do if you live in a red state or red district. And it gives you opportunities that make sense if you're in a purple state or purple district. So you can actually unsubscribe and just trust this as a roadmap that will help you with effective political strategies that people that are not normally engaged in politics can step into.
Okay, now let me talk about this for just a second. And it's, as a progressive, it's just disheartening, because you look at the current administration and you look at Trump, and Trump has the executive branch, of course, being the president, but he also has the legislative branch. And there is, you can't find two testicles anywhere in the Republican Party in Congress. And even though it's supposed to be the body's supposed to be a fair and impartial umpire calling balls and strikes, the Supreme Court is in the tank for him as well. So all three levers of government he controlled. And when you think about that, there's a sense of helplessness. If you're not in line, it's a sense of helplessness. So what, well, there are lots of things that we can do. What is the number one thing that we could do that could really make some kind of a tangible difference, especially when you look at the way it's against us, and you feel the sense of hopelessness that I just talked about?
Yeah, people feel lost, confused, concerned, worried, and wonder what they can do to make a difference, if at all. And what I tell my volunteers is what we do, and what I'll share with you in a moment, is it is therapy. I call it political therapy, because you can be sitting on the sidelines in despair, or you can come together and with synergy and collective efforts, do something together. And yes, protests are fine, but they're like one of 31 flavors. The other flavors of things, you can do 3 or 4 things I would recommend. The number one would be to consider joining an Indivisible group. There were 6,000 of them in the early years in the first Trump administration. They're down to 2,000, but the ones that are alive, like ours, have weathered the challenges and are robust and making a difference. And so tapping into the activities of an Indivisible group, and there are many other groups I write about in the book, like Activate America, like Swing Left, like Sister District, like Fair Fight. There are amazing number of great, effective organizations that move the needle in the blue direction. So joining an organization or starting one is one thing you can do, because they are laser focused on effective strategies to raise money that moves the needle blue, or gives people opportunity to step into getting the vote out in swing districts. And so rather than reinvent the wheel, join a group, form one if you like, and then what we do is we partner with all these other groups I write about in the book. The vast majority of these NGOs, most people don't know about, so that's why I put them in the book. And you can partner with them. Like we oftentimes partner with Activate America, that has been quite effective in swing states. Central Valley Matters is one that is quite effective in swinging Central Valley districts from red to blue. Flip the vote, and many others. So partnering with the group as well. So those are 2 things. And the third thing that I write about is people are so hungry. Like we meet people at farmers markets. We have about 7 farmers markets.
Why farmers markets?
Because that's where people congregate. Like we used to meet at transit stations, at the Bay Area Rapid Transit, BART, but in light of lower ridership, we go to farmers markets and we hand out flyers on a regular basis, like this size here, and we give people a 2-minute ask with a QR code on how they can connect to opportunities for an hour of writing postcards and do a postcard party for swing districts, or giving money to an organization, many of which I just mentioned, that we can hire an organizer to, in months before a key election, to really get to know the community and get roots and boots on the ground to actually make a difference. So at farmers markets, again, you encounter 100 people, they thank us and they're like, oh, I didn't know what to do. The QR code is an opportunity. And so what we can do moving forward is we have to build and erect a guardrail. And back to your point about separation of powers, we need the House of Representatives back in our hands as a guardrail. And that's what we're committed to doing in the coming months for the 2026 election. And then prior to that, we'll be working on the governor's race in New Jersey and Virginia. We need to have a big showing there and build momentum as we get back to 2026 and get the guardrails in place to stop the damage. And
all right, so each one of these groups then is or I should ask you, are these groups laser focused on a particular activity? Because the fact that there's so much, it's like, well, I'm working with you on the show that I'm doing, the Great American SHI show about monologues on life in the age of Trump. And the problem is that it's like a tsunami every day coming at you. And you don't know exactly which thing you should be putting your energy towards. And because you can't put your energy towards all of it. It's too much. It's too overwhelming. You can't even keep up with all of it. There are like 10 things a day. So what your organization and the others do is they laser focus on, they pick the phrase that I use, they choose the hill that they're willing to die on.
Well, yeah, I'm an optimist. I feel like we're choosing that hill to advance from, right? And ultimately, we're so overwhelmed with this dizzying flow of dystopian outcomes.
Shock and awe.
Yes, shock and awe. And the good news, perhaps, is the first 100 days plus is over, and Trump's polling is, really in the tank. It's the lowest of any modern president. So he's going to get weaker over time. And now's the time for us to get into these laser focused organizations, all of whom have somewhat different strategies or models, but they've been really effective in moving the needle. And I'll say one thing related to that. Some people that were involved in 2024 feel demoralized, and they feel like, gosh, we lost, and the Democrats are in the desert. We lost narrowly at the presidential level. We won down ballot races. We're well positioned to regain power. And so Activate America basically did an analysis. They're one of the many NGOs that I strongly recommend joining or being part of. They, of the races in which they focus, they move the needle 2 to 4% in the direction of the blue candidate. And
and that's enough.
Those districts where they didn't invest. So we did well on everything for the most part, in down ballot, except for a narrow loss at the top. And so getting involved does matter and we have to get past the demoralization and into action together.
All right. So actually being involved is better than being involved in some way. At least you feel like you're doing something as opposed to sitting around and fretting.
Community is medicine. Like community is medicine, right? And so many of our volunteers have built friendships, and we do it together. And it's like this psychic kind of feeling of, all right, I'm not alone despairing. I'm actually together building something. And it is political therapy. It helps you sleep at night, and we are moving the needle. And it feels like with the onslaught of the news, we're not getting anywhere. But to your point earlier, we have to stay laser focused and myopically, in a sense, focus on what's in front of us and not try to boil the ocean, but focus on strategic ideas, which again are captured in the book from what I've shared in terms of retail connections at farmers markets, raising money. And then we have this other concept I write about on how people can leverage their networks of friends and family through Zoom parties. Now, it's not rocket science, but we raised $450,000 in 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And in 1 hour parties, leveraging hosts and their friends across the country. And each party on average raises $8,000 to $10,000. Add up a number of hosts, and you're talking big numbers. And that's just our little star in this constellation of many indivisible groups. Imagine.
Okay, let me stop you for a second. So 400 grand. So where's it going? Is it going into individual candidate races? Is it going to the DNC? With the money that you raise, where does it go?
Yeah. So the money, each host decides which organization or organizations they want to promote. So, like for my birthday, I promoted an organization called Headcount that registers voters at concerts. That was one of my 3. The Lincoln Project at one point I've done. And then I was worried about the Senate last time. The Senate, I'm forgetting the name, the Senate committee. And so each host can curate which of the 50 or so organizations they want to focus on. And the best part about it is the guests that are attending may want to give 100% of what they give just to one, or they might give it to one third. But you give your guests an opportunity to contribute, feel good, and get educated, because a lot of people have no idea where to give money other than to the DNC.
That's right.
I'm not saying we shouldn't give money to the DNC. Their treasury is starved and needs to be replenished. But together, the DNC and these amplifying organizations will synergize the effort, because the DNC alone won't be able to do it.
All right, let me ask you this. There are a lot of people, and I should say a lot of younger people, a number of Gen Zers who I am acquainted with, who can't stand Trump and can't stand what's happening in this country right now, but they're completely disaffected by the Democratic Party, and they're disengaged. What do you do, or what would you recommend doing to get these folks into? And we had 92 million people who were eligible to vote, who did not vote in the last election. And a lot of them were the younger people. It's like, both sides are screwed. I want nothing to do with either one of them. And we end up in this situation. So the disaffected Democrats, of those who can't stand Trump and don't think the Democrats are going to do anything, how do we bring them into the fold, or at least get them, to be part of the fight?
Yeah, it's a definite challenge. Younger people in particular. I mean, Trump's polling is abysmal,
Hmm.
and he did surprisingly well with younger demographics and others, but now he's in the tank.
Younger males is the thing that surprised me. It was young men.
Yeah, yeah, and men of color,
Yeah, yeah, and Latinos, African American and Latino men.
And it comes down, beyond my pay grade of what I do. It's about a 24/7, 365-day media blitz that needs to not only match, but be a juggernaut that meets and exceeds their relentless lies. So and this is underway. If you may be familiar with the Hopium Chronicles that Simon Rosenberg runs. I write about it in the book. And Hopium is impressive in terms of strategy and the connectivity with people in power to get us out of this mess. And so one of the big initiatives I've always felt we needed to focus on, that Hopium and others are doing, is we need to be build this messaging machine, because people are disaffected. They don't think their vote matters. The 92 million stay home because they're not motivated by the messaging. And our messaging, we've learned the hard lesson. I'm very hopeful that the juggernaut we're building and a message framing will actually get back to our roots, which is the economic message, right? And so I feel like we're on our way, and we have to just manage between now and the midterms to build that guardrail and stay focused and not get distracted.
Now, if what I read about you is correct and accurate, you got involved as a young person, and you have done something, been engaged in some kind of political activity in every election since you were in college. Is that right? Okay, so tell me, as a young person in college, you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, what was it that got you, off the couch? And what you weren't, home playing video games. I know that much. You weren't hooked to your iPad. So there was a little less competition to get you out of the house and to do something for your country. But what was it? What was it that got you out?
Even when I was in high school, I was in student government. I've always sort of been focused on fairness and justice, and that's kind of like my gene, and it drives me. And so that started me as a young kid. And when I was in college, I'm embarrassed to say I was not a big fan of Carter, and John Anderson, if you all remember back then, was an independent, and he seemed more progressive. And I worked on his campaign, and that was the only time I never worked on a Democrat's campaign. And we lost. And I'm even though I don't think that affected the outcome and brought Reagan in, the Reagan Bush years motivated me from that point forward to say this is not okay. And sadly, it's just gotten worse. I never thought we could do worse than Reagan Bush, but here we are. And I'll just say one last thing, which is, I was walking precincts, knocking on doors in the fall at a friend's house in Tucson in a swing state. And I was after like the third day, I thought to myself, I just can't knock on another door. And then I just had this epiphany. I said, wait a minute, who am I to complain about knocking on another stranger's door when I get to go to a nice meal afterwards, see my college roommate, and I'm not dying on the battlefield away from my home? I mean, to me, it suddenly, and it sounds trite to say it, but it brought about this awareness that we have to do service. Whether you volunteer for AmeriCorps, or you work in the military, or you work for democracy, it's I don't want to say it's like a duty, but we have to do service and can't take it for granted, because no one's going to save us but ourselves. And so I just had this new awakening in my own mindset when I get a little tired or fed up, thinking no one's going to save us. There's no cavalry.
Yeah, nobody's coming.
And it's up to us, because we have to be part of the solution, and we have to see getting engaged in whatever way we do as service, as part of being a citizen, because no one else is going to do it for us, and we've taken it for granted for all these years.
And failure is not an option. Failure is not.
It's a 5-alarm fire. Yeah. So it's up to us, and we have to engage and get our friends and family engaged, and realize we can do it together. And a lot of people have not been involved or like daunted by it, right? But it's manageable with doing a party for your friends, among other things. So it really can be fun and meaningful too.
All right. Well, the book, I'm going to hold this up again here. The book is You Are Not Alone. It's all about how to connect with your grassroots allies. You Are Not Alone, Your Roadmap to Effective Political Action by Gary Lux. Gary, thanks for being with us. Great information. Again, it is a quick read. And if you really want to get into the fight, and we all have to while we still can, you want to read this because this will tell you how. A pleasure having you. We'll see you in person quite soon.
Very good. Much appreciated. And thank you. Good to see you.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
That's going to do it for this edition of Conversations with Copeland. And we're doing this kind of sporadically now, but again, eventually we'll probably turn this into a weekly show where I'll spend about 20 minutes talking to somebody like Gary or Eric Swalwell, someone of note, somebody who's got something important to say that needs to be shared. So if you like what it is that you saw, please do us a favor and take the link and send it to somebody you think needs to see this. I'll check you out next time.